Okay.
Right, let me share my screen. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. I think we started with Bitbucket. You definitely didn't get a chance to look at my video because I forgot to upload it last time. But I believe you have. Did you get a chance to work through it, like any one of you? No?
No, sir.
Okay. It's okay. So nobody got a chance to work on it?
I worked on it somewhere previously, sir.
Who is that? Bhargav?
Yeah.
Okay. One minute. Okay, I'm trying to. Remember, where is my. Okay. So we looked at this sample Java last time. Let me close this here. We looked at a pipeline, a very basic pipeline, right? Today, what we will see is, let's look at a pipeline to start with and see where did we end. So we started with a default pipeline. We saw the steps. We saw this is another step over here. Is this the one that we looked at last time? I don't remember. We looked at artifacts, if I remember right. Do you guys remember which was the one that we started with? It's not the one. I remember I talked about artifacts, right? And we looked at the target. I'm lost because this one doesn't say artifacts over here. And it's talking about
No, this
check
was
style.
the one. This was the one. Default
This
and
is
the
the one.
branch pipeline. This was the one.
But we didn't talk about check style and we didn't talk about Git. Oh, okay. It's down here. No, we didn't do Docker image. We didn't do any of that last time, right?
Yeah. Docker we did not do.
Yeah, so that's not the one. Let's see. Problem is there are so many ones over here. Maybe it's this one. Let's see. I have to delete them actually. Okay, this is not the one. Was it?
Not code craft.
Maybe this was the one. No. What the heck? Where did it go? Why am I feeling I'm lost today? Shoot. Am I in a different account altogether? It can't be infinite. I mean, I should not even have anything in there. It has to be this, but okay, let's go to the project and we'll start from here. I'm sorry. Didn't expect this. So what was the date last time? March something, right? This was sample Java we started with. That's the one, right?
Right.
And then
Yeah.
if I open this up, why I feel I'm not familiar with this. See this one? Verify. But shoot, didn't I? Why I remember I showed you artifact and I showed you that target folder is created in the artifact when I went to.
No, we did not see that artifact thing.
Edit artifacts. You see that this one?
Oh yeah, yes. Okay.
If it is there, was it a different branch? No, it is master branch. Why is it not showing me correctly, or am I losing something? Oh, here it is. Create Docker image. Oh, okay, here we just did ls minus lrt. We did not create Docker image actually.
Okay.
Oh man, we were at the right place, but I think I got confused because this default had completely different thing over here, which I didn't. This was the one that we got as part of the template when we created it. Okay, good. So let's go ahead and I think we had done artifacts. We wanted to do Docker image, and there are a couple of other things that we wanted to do. We wanted to do stages. Okay, so let's start with that. I hope I also have. Okay, so this is what I wanted to give you guys, right? In the video that last time we captured. So today's date is what? 04. Okay, good. Okay, so today we will see a couple of things, okay? Couple of things in the sense, let's first look at, let me call it my, okay. So we are going to do something here. You're able to see my screen properly, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we have a source code over here. Okay. What we do is we will take this source and we will build it. When you build it, what you do is you've created your Maven artifacts. Correct? And we have seen that the Maven artifact got published where?
JFrog, yeah.
We have seen this, right? Last time?
Right.
No, we are only doing Maven clean packet. We have not published it to JFrog yet. I think we don't even. Did I interface you to JFrog already or not yet? We have not, right? We only did Nexus last time, if you remember.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. So what I will do is, I will not cover it this time. Next time, what I will do is I will start Nexus, and I will show you that artifacts get published to Nexus as part of this pipeline. Okay. The only problem with that is how if I don't make Nexus public, it will not be. So what we can do is I will go ahead and create a JFrog trial version just for this session for the next time. Okay. But today we will look at some concept without going through JFrog, because then opening up the account would take us some time and I don't want to waste time. Okay. So for now, I mean, last time, do you remember I had created a Nexus instance and then I had done a Maven deploy, and it had gone ahead and deployed it to Nexus? Do you remember that? Or have you forgotten it already?
I remember that.
Okay, good. So it's something similar. We will be publishing our Maven artifacts to JFrog. It's over here. Then next, what we want is we want to have deployments. Dev, let's say create and prod. Whatever is deployed to JFrog, right? We want to take it from there and deploy to there, or take it from there and deploy to QA, or take it from there and deploy to prod. That's what the whole idea is all about. Okay. Usually what we do is as part of our build, we also deploy to dev immediately. We publish it to JFrog, we take it from JFrog and we deploy it to the target environment. Okay. Right now, what we have is we do not have a server where we will deploy it. So this is going to be a server where we will deploy it. Okay. I'll draw a little cleaner picture for you so that you guys understand. You will always have a server, which will be a box over here, right? Somewhere. So that's the server. Those servers, you're not going to just have one server. You're going to have a server for dev. You'll have a server for QA. And you'll have a server for prod, let's say. Right? What you usually do as part of your CI/CD pipeline, let's consider this as a CI and a /CD pipeline. You take your source code. Where do we host our source code?
Bitbucket.
We put it up in Git, let's say.
Okay.
It's either Bitbucket, GitLab, or GitHub. As part of a CI, the pipeline would build this code and produce this code into a remote repository.
The image.
Yeah, the image or the Maven artifact or whatever your deployable is, you're going to keep it over here. And in our case, it can either be Nexus or JFrog. So if you know Nexus, you know JFrog. If you know JFrog, you know Nexus or Nexus. Okay. This is the time when you build and when you put it up into Nexus, this whole thing from here to here is called CI, continuous integration. Okay. When you take that artifact that you produce and drop it into a server, okay, again, it is from here to here. That's called CD, continuous deployment. So when you do a CD, what I want you to be really clear about is when you deploy to QA, you don't do CI again. You don't do this again. You've already built it, you deploy. You've already built it, you deploy. The only thing what is there for production is you have something called as gate. You don't allow everybody to deploy to production. It's a gated deployment. Are you understanding this picture so far? Like maybe not a very neat picture, but conceptually we understand it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes.
Now this same picture, right? I will talk it in terms of image that we want to eventually get to. There are some gaps, there are some blanks that I have to leave because you have not learned about Docker, you have not learned about Kubernetes yet. You have not seen the artifact being deployed into Nexus as yet or JFrog as yet. So I will keep those blanks, but get the fundamental picture clear in your mind. Okay. In this picture, what I'm talking about is you're producing an artifact. Let's call it as a jar artifact. The jar, right? Maven, when you Maven plain package, it would be for jar. And let's assume that this is an executable jar. It's okay if you don't know what an executable jar is. Executable jar is something that you can execute. Okay. Let's assume it's an executable jar. And what are executable jars? If you've heard about projects like Spring Boot, or you've heard of Part-2. When we do Maven clean package or Maven clean install or Maven clean deploy, they produce an executable jar. They produce this. Okay. And those executable jars have an embedded server inside it. So if you look at a jar, if you explore it, there will be an embedded server inside it. Okay. So there's a Tomcat or any server that you want, Undertow, so on and so forth, is running, or a JBoss running inside the jar. It's called embedded server. Okay. Just so that not to confuse this whole shit out of you, what I want to do is Remove this for a moment from here completely, right?
Smirva, you can use a brush. I think that worked out well for you in the past, actually.
What is that?
You can use a brush to write. That worked out well for you to write it.
Brush, right?
Yeah, I've seen your past videos. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we will do, so now what we want to do is we create an artifact, right? This is the artifact. Let's assume it's not an executable artifact. You have to take this artifact and you have to put it on a server. And what server is it? Let's assume that server is JBoss. Is it better?
Yeah.
So that is JBoss. Okay. We are deploying it to JBoss. Again, I don't want to spend a lot of time teaching you how a JBoss server has to be configured, so on and so forth, because our whole intent is to go to Kubernetes. Our whole intent is to go to Docker. That's the idea. Okay. Our intent is not to take a traditional WAR file or a jar file and deploy it onto a JBoss server. That is not. But the reason I'm talking about this is it's always good to connect the dots and see how people used to do it historically. Historically, you would build a WAR file and you would deploy it onto a server. Server is nothing but a software. You'll deploy it in a specific folder. Let's say you'll deploy it in a OPT web. You just throw in some name over there. You'll deploy it under that folder. And because you've deployed it under that folder and you start the server, it will start your application where the application is ready to be consumed. That's how it used to be in the older days. Okay. Now let's go ahead and talk what we really want to talk. In the world of Kubernetes, right? What happens? Again, we have not talked about Kubernetes, so I'm not going to spend too much time showing you all that whole big picture, but I think it is Kubernetes over here. In Kubernetes, what it does is Kubernetes allows you to have a Docker image, which is put on JFrog, let's say, and deployed over here as something called as pod. You have neither heard of Kubernetes nor heard of pod, so it will be a very complicated subject for you. The only thing that I'm trying to do is add enough details so that I can show you the pipeline when it comes to pipeline. So as part of your CI/CD or CI, you have produced a Docker image. And you have put it up in JFrog. As part of your deployment, what you do is you tell that this pod, the image tag is X. So you'll have X over here. X could be equal to 1 or 2, or it could be anything, any number. That's what it is. Okay. Don't get confused. It's not mathematical. But I'm just telling you, it can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or it can be any random number. It can be a commit hash, so on and so forth. I hope it's clear so far. I know there are a lot of gaps over here that we have to fill up, but the concept, are you able to get it? As part of the CI, instead of producing a jar, you produce a Docker image. And as part of seeding, instead of deploying it on a JBoss server, Tomcat server, so on and so forth, you basically will deploy that particular image that is produced onto Kubernetes cluster. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, so now let's go back over here and let's see if we can play around and do something. What I want to do is let's go this. I'm going to remove this cluster. That's fine. We don't use it. First, let's look at some concept called stage. Okay, let's get that out of our way. We still want box, right? Yeah, this is the one that I'm doing, and then we will put this on the box. That's what it is. Okay. You know, okay. What I want to show you is I'm introducing this thing called staging. That's one first step. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying there's a flag for deployment. This is the new one that I'm introducing. Okay. And I'm saying there are steps. The steps are still the old steps, whatever were there here. Okay. I'm not going to change any of these things for now because I'm trying to show you the concept. Okay. If I commit this, we are bound to see an error. And I want you to see the error. Going to 5 here. See that? And it should say the deployment that is available. See that? The environment there in your Bitbucket pipeline doesn't match any environment defined in your settings. Either update your YAML or your settings to use the same way. Okay, this is the error I wanted to show you. Now, what it's really complaining about is you have to go to repository settings, and down here, there's something called as deployments. Okay, so if you see there's test, staging, production, I don't want any of that. I'm going to delete it. What I want to do is create a new one called dev. As soon as I put this over here, if I go back and if I run my pipeline, it should not break because of the earlier error at least. If it breaks because of something else, that's fine. You see what staging has really done. Staging has grouped things together. If you just want to see how it was before, without the stage, let me go to the earlier one that was successful. See how they were straight line like this? They're not, there's no grouping, right? If I go back here, staging gives me a nice grouping like this. Okay, that's what that stage has done. So let me go back over here and show you to the stage. And there's a new build and deploy to there. Build and deploy to there. And inside it, I have the A1 package and paid document. Those two. Clear so far?
Yeah.
Good. Now, I want to do something more. Okay. What I want to do something more is, let's say while I'm building, I have some variables that are required. Okay. So let's go ahead and edit this guy over here. I'll add one more step over here. I'll do something like this. Okay. And I'll do it. If I want to add and commit at the same time, I can do git add, or I can do git add dot and then do a ampersand and then do commit minus a. But if I want to add and commit at the same time, you can use the add. Let's go ahead and go here. Again, I want to save some time for you because I'm showing you concepts. I really don't care about this. I'm going to comment this out for you. Okay? Let's get the concepts clear first. Let's quickly save something. I'll stop this guy. Let the new pipeline start.
So
Okay.
maybe is there a way to say that if one step is taking more time, that okay, let's time out this step or skip this step to go to another one or something like that?
You do not have a timeout. Well, I mean, there is a timeout. If you noticed last time we were talking about, right, there's a timeout, but that timeout is really great. So if you want to reduce it, you can. You can reduce it at the whole pipeline level, or you can reduce it at the step level. Yeah. So that was the one that we checked last time for global. I think there was something called as global configuration. Okay.
Okay.
If you go there, you should be able to see it. All right. So this is quick now. If you look at initialize, there's a print env output, and it's printing everything that is available. One important thing for you to note over here is Bitbucket by itself is giving a certain environment variable out of the box. Look at this Bitbucket branch and a lot of other stuff. Deployment UUID. If you go down here, the name of the repo slug, it's called repo slug. Okay. So on and so forth, which will be required for you when you're doing automation. But assume that you want to give something more. Let's say, for example, you're trying to connect to JFrog, or you're trying JFrog is a bad example because that will be in settings or XML file actually. But assume that you're trying to deploy to a server, and that server needs user ID and password. You need that user ID and password. How are you going to get it? Let's say, for example, okay. What you can do now is, since you've created an environment, and let's assume for a second that configuration that you want is environment specific. Okay. But before we go to that, let's do one more small change. Let's say this is the one that is deploying to dev, but you also want one more that deploys to QA. Okay. So what we do for that is we create custom pipeline for it, and that's called the deploy to QA. Okay.
So are we saying that okay, after deploying to dev, you deploy to queue at the same time, or like
No.
tell?
No.
Right. Okay.
If you remember last time, custom pipeline I had showed you that custom pipeline has to be invoked explicitly. It's not a chain.
Okay.
So copy the same. Okay. So let's say this is the one that is created. What I'll do is I'll just go ahead and commute it. Let's see what happens. I don't want what is not going to run. I could have done a skip CI. We have to check on. I'll stop it. I'll go to pipeline. I'll go to run pipeline. Select the branch. So I want it from master. And I want to do a deploy to queue. I'll pick this up. So I have one which is continuously okay. You see this? You should be able to solve this problem. What is wrong with this? Why is this error? Somebody tell me.
The environment which we have.
QA is not there.
What is that?
Yeah, environment is not there. We have to update same like repository settings.
Okay, then quick guys.
Can you go to the end, Samir?
Yeah, I'm at the end.
Deployments
Deployments. Yeah.
and add environment.
Okay, so let's say this was the test environment there and the QA staging. let's add environment over here.
Basically saying that there is no environment created for me to deploy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So here, deploy to QA and run. This time it should work. What I'm trying to show you is two things, okay, or rather three things. You have variables in, let's see where the documentation for it to be user. This is a good documentation for you to refer. So let's put it for you here. When I give you this, okay, I mean, my expectation is that you guys really look through this. And you go through the video, then you'll have this in the description, you pick that up and you go through it. Because if you are just relying that I'm teaching you everything, you're just going to remember and forget. Okay, so please go through it. Don't rely just on my videos. What I'm going to do is now, what have we done so far? We have one pipeline that is continuous pipeline, notice it. One which is continuous pipeline. As soon as somebody commits, that master gets run, and that master basically is deployed to dev continuously. Okay. We have created a separate custom pipeline which says deploy to queue. So when you do this, you have an option to go to deploy to queue. Okay. But before I go into the weeds of it, I want to show you something more. Okay. What is that? Something more. I want to show you first thing. Okay. When you go to variables, you'll understand there are three types of variables. There's workspace variable, there's a repository variable, and there's deployment variable. Okay. Do I have to tell you what each one of them means, or do you think the name is good enough for you to know what it means? So I'll repeat again. There's workspace variable, there is repository variable, and there's deployment variable. Somebody just try to guess what will be the difference between these three.
Maybe, deployment variable, maybe we give a start of the deployment.
So workspace variables will apply for all the repositories, and the repository variables might apply to
You're close. Go ahead.
the other ones. What is the second one?
To the
Third
repository.
one. So, yeah.
Okay. And the
Something like that.
deployment variable will be for the deployment inside the repository. So right now, what have we done? We have a project called my first project. Okay. There could be several projects with several repositories under it. When you create workspace variable, that variable is available to everyone, irrespective. In that particular workspace, however many repositories you have, all of them will have access to it. Okay. When we create a repository variable, and if there is sample Java and there is sample Node.js, if I create a repository variable for sample Java, sample Node.js will not be able to view it. Okay. That is repository variable. If I create a deployment variable inside sample Java, and how many deployments do we have right now for sample Java? For sample Java, how many deployments have we created?
Two.
Deployment or environment, whatever you call it, two, right? One is dev, one is QA. So if I declare variable for dev, that variable will not be visible to QA. Okay, that's what it means. So look at it this way. If you're trying to deploy to a server in dev, and then you're trying to deploy to a server in QA, and let's assume the user ID password of that server is different for dev and different for QA. Where would you declare it? Would you really go and declare it in workspace? Or will you deploy it in repository? Or will you deploy it in deployments? The answer is very clear. You're going to deploy it in deployments because it varies by environments, right?
Right.
For that particular repository. Okay. So anyway, let's go and look at this real quick. When you go to workspace setting as an administrator, and again, when I invite people, not everybody will be administrators, and not everybody will be able to see workspace settings. Only workspace administrator will be able to see workspace settings. Only administrator will be able to see repository settings, so on and so forth. So let's go and click workspace settings over here. And if you go down all the way, you'll see there's workspace variable. I'll just create a simple one. And there are two types of variables across the three categories that I told you. One is variable, the other one is a secret. Okay, so let's call something as WKS username. Let's say. So username at workspace level. Okay, and this is not secured, so I'll call it as username. Let's say, and I'll say add. So let it add it. I'll call another one called workspace PWD password. And I'll say PASSWORD. But I want it to be secure. I don't want it to be unsecure. Secure, right? That's a secret. So I'll add it over there. Awesome. Now I will go and run my pipeline. And go to pipelines. One. Two. It doesn't matter whether we done master or QA. I'm expecting that WPA should show the password should not get leaked because it's sensitive information. Are you guys following so far whatever I'm showing, or do you think I'm making it complex for you guys to understand?
No, I'm following it.
We are able to follow.
All right, so let's go ahead all the way down. You see this here? What's this variable for it? Like all the others. Yeah.
Right.
If I go and do this for QA also, it wouldn't matter because it's a workspace variable.
See the same thing.
You'll see the same thing. Yeah, it's visible, right? Now what I will do is I will go to repository variable. There's something called as repository variables for here. Okay, I'll call it as the repo. So irrespective whichever I run, I'm not going to run both of them, but you can choose whichever you want me to run. You want me to run the master or deploy the queue?
That's fine.
That's fine. Okay. So you should technically see both, right? All four. Because it's at the repository level.
Right.
But what I'm going to do just to show you the concept here is I'm going to push this same sample Java into a different repository. Okay, so here. So let's go ahead and create a repository. Okay, I'm just doing it for fun. Okay, I'm going to do it. Okay. Okay. And then I'll just copy this back from here and put it there. This would save us some time. We don't do this again. And then let's do it. Push it over here. Okay. Close. It will still not work. Okay. And I want you to tell me why. what to do. The branch name. Okay, let me show you something. When you're going to create a repository right over here, like that, there's this advanced settings. Okay, there are a couple of things that you can select which language and all, but over here, if you notice here, before the advanced settings, by default, the branch will be called main. If I wanted it to be called master, the reason I want to call it master is because here I have said build only for master, right? So I have either put the name main over here because that's the default, or if you call it master, I can name it over here. But since I forgot it, what I'm doing is I'm pushing the master branch up. This is another learning for you because there's another thing I'll show you. Okay. And now when you go back to sample clone over here, and if I go to settings, and if I look closely over here in advanced, the main branch is main. I don't want it to be main. I want it to be master. Otherwise, if I leave it like this, right? And if I go back to branches and I want to delete main, I want to delete main to this. It's not allowing me. But I can delete master if I want it. Why? Because the main branch is main. So let me go back here again, repository settings, advanced, and let me change the main branch to be master. Okay. And if you want to select whatever we call landing page, you want to go to source, you want to go to commits, so on and so forth, you can change it, save it. Now, if I go back to branches, I'll be able to delete the main branch. Okay. Now, if I go to pipeline and if I try to run, will it work or no? Tell me. What do we need to do? You have to be quick.
It is 7
I'm not able to overrun this particular. Now, if I go back here, if I run the pipeline. Remember, okay, remember, let me show you the other project also. Yes. I'll open both of them. There's a pipeline that already ran over here. I'll put it through those variables. See this? See that? And then there should be a record. See that? Yeah.
Yes, Samesh. Yeah.
And see how the password is not being linked. See, since it's a sensitive variable, it is not being linked. But the username is sitting as the text over here. Okay. So this guy is printing both of them. But when I go here, and if I run this, this is finish now. See how the upload variable and workspace variable. But this guy only has workspace variable. Repo variable is not visible. You understand now, right? The difference between repository variables and workspace variable. Workspace variable is available to all repositories. Repository
Yeah.
variable is only available to that repository. Okay. And now we will drill down to in this particular one, in this particular one over here, we'll do that both. We'll go to deployment, and I will add a variable only for dev for now. This is really, and I'll call it as dev username. And I'm not going to create password. Okay, it's redundant. Just for the same. So now if I go and build, if I build QA, will that show up? Any guesses? You guys are not paying attention.
No.
It did not show.
Okay, I'm running dev now. Will it show up?
For the dev deployment, you have created a variable in dev. Yes, it will.
It should show.
So if I do download here, finish deployment variable is available.
All three actually.
All three are available because workspace is available, repository available, operator is available, and then deployment variable is also available. So now it's all up to you. What do you want? You want a variable that changes by environment, then it goes over here. You want a variable that is standard across environments, you go over repository. But you have a variable that is not just for repository but across everywhere, then you put it under workspace variable. Make sense?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
So in real time, do you really use all the three, or what do you?
Yeah, we do. So say for example, I want to do SonarQube scanning. SonarQube token, I don't want to create it for every repo, even though we have it for every repo. I want to create a single token and reuse it. Then I would use it. I would create a workspace variable because every project would need it. Okay. Let's say, for example, I have a variable called release. I want to release a particular repository. I don't want to keep it at workspace because if I keep it at workspace and I mark the release as true, that means irrespective of which workspace, which repository you run, they will all run as release. You don't want to do that. Okay. So a variable that is at the CI level would be as repository. Okay. So you're only doing CI, you're only doing build, and you want a variable, a changing variable. It will be at a repository level. But if you're doing at a CD level deployment, and you want it to be differing by environment, obviously it will be at the deployment level.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not showing anything that we've done in Infinite over here, but anything that we've built at Infinite, the concept is derived from its basic building blocks. We are doing much more mature stuff over there. Well, for example, you want to have a file, you want to have a step, and that step needs variable values. Okay, but before that, I have not shown you something called as definitions. We have only looked at straight pipeline so far over here. So before we end today, I want to show you definitions. Let's go there real quick. This is what YAML anchors are. So these are the only two things that we need to know. Okay. There are two parts to this, anchors and aliases. The anchor is this ampersand sign, which defines a chunk of configuration. Okay. The alias star usually refer to the chunk elsewhere. Okay. So if I will also put this link for you to but let's try and see if I can work on it. Yeah. I'm going to remove default, okay, just to avoid confusion next time we come here because I'm again going to click on check file and clean this up. Maybe it's like this. And what I want to do is I want to take Maybe I'll get really like this. Initialize. And go after it here. We have definition. And I'll define the definition section. That's it. I'm doing this, okay. I've copied it as is in front of you. The only thing that I did was I added an anchor. Okay, go back to the definition. I've added the anchor. And now I want to use the alias. So I want to use it over here down.
I still didn't get it what it really means, a chunk of configuration.
Sorry.
I didn't get it what it means, the chunk of configuration, the ampersand, right? So the
Yeah.
anchor.
You'll get to know.
Okay.
It was a repeated chunk, right? It was being repeated here and it was being repeated here. So instead of repeating it, I've taken it on top and at both the places, I'm just doing an alias. Okay. Still working, right? As is. Now, Seth, you tell me. You know the concept of dry, right? Do not repeat yourself.
Yeah.
So that's what is happening over here. So you were repeating this multiple times, the step. Instead of repeating it multiple times, you declared it once in the definition as a template, and you're just referring to it and saying, use this at this step.
Okay.
And same way you're coming down over here and saying, use same thing over here.
Just like a function.
Correct. Correct. Now let's assume for a second, instead of saying initialize over here, you wanted to say initialize for dev, and when you come to QA, you wanted to say initialize for QA. How will you do that? So let's go down over here. There's this concept over here which they're saying you can use overrides with the characters this. This is called overrides. Okay. There are only three things, right? One is ampersand, alias, which is start, and then the third one is override. So what I'm going to do is here, over here, instead of putting it over here, I'm going to add that override the way they are saying it. And the name, I don't want to use that name what was given before. I will say initializing for QA. And same thing, I'll copy from here, take it to there. Okay, save it. Submit it. And we'll go back to the payment. It is. Oh, because I copied and pasted. Okay, another thing, since they are both belonging to the same deployment, okay, it's already stopped, it's done. But if assume this was already running, and if you had submitted another one, this could have been in a stop state. It would say you're trying to deploy to the same one, and the earlier one is already running, so I'm going to stop it. Okay, this is one gap that I see. In Jenkins, I'm able to define which one I want to stop. Usually what I want to stop would be, I'll always have milestones. If this guy has already passed a milestone, I want to stop this guy. But if this guy was just started, it's in the initial one, it hasn't passed a milestone, I would want this one to be killed and I want the latest one to be built. That cannot be done over here. Or at least I have not figured out. You're understanding the problem I'm saying, right? So let's say I commit and Saf commits. I commit 2 seconds before Saf. So my pipe started already. And Saf's pipe, because my pipe was already started, his pipe stopped. What I would rather want is I want the latest code to start building. Because Saf's code also has my code in it. So my build should stop and his build should start. Okay, but that doesn't happen. If there is already a build running for a particular deployment, the new build will stop. Okay. Anyway, let's go and look at this. What happened? We will show dev. You see this? Initializing for dev. And if I run it for QA, it is so initializing for QA as expected. See that? So now you've got to know how to use YAML anchors, how to define your definition section with the anchor, how to use an alias, and how to override it using this alias like symbol. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I think that should, there's a lot more we can get into. Security, so on and so forth. We can integrate with Snyk for continuous security. I don't think so. We want to get there. There are a lot of other stuff over here. A very nice thing is branch model, branch restriction. Okay. So if you look at branch model, you can specify your feature branch should be following enabled inheritance. You can change it what you want to change. But if you want to enable it, that's the default. It will be bug fix, feature, hotfix, release. If you name by this name, that's how you call them. Okay. And then when you go to restriction, you can add a restriction saying, I want it for branch release. And I want branch release to only people to commit it will be like the submit only. And everybody else can do a merge into it if needed. Everybody who has access can merge into it. I can say only some people can merge into it. Okay. So this is basically saying restrict who can do what. And then when you come over here, you can say how many approvals do you need. When you do a merge, there's a merge. You guys are aware about pull request, right? Or merge request?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Samir.
So somebody does a pull request or merge request. How many approvals does it require? Does it automatically gets merged, or do you need approval? So you can say, I need 2 approvals or whatever it is, right? Minimum, there's a default reviewer list actually. So if you click over here, there's default reviewer here. You see that, right? That's the same one. You can add default reviewers into it. Again, I'm going really quick. I would want you guys to go and figure things out from here, right? There's integration, SSHP, runners. There are a lot of things which I haven't taught you, which I think I don't need to teach you. Okay, right now. You can figure it out yourself. But I have taught you enough for you to be able to navigate in and figure things out for yourself. I hope that is true assumption.
Yes, Samir. Yeah.
Okay, good. So next, what we will do is we will quickly go to GitHub Actions, but I really wanted to start with Docker. But if you guys want to go to GitHub Actions and do the same thing in GitHub Actions, I'm completely okay to do it. But if you think you can figure it out yourself, I think we can move to Docker so that we can connect the dots that are missing. I told you, right? There are a couple of dots I have not connected. Kubernetes I have not connected. Moving a Docker image to JFrog I have not connected. I've not filled up the blank. Baking a Docker image I have not filled up the blank. It's a big gap. I had sent you a course in Udemy by Brad Fisher. Did anybody buy it?
Yes, sir. I bought
Who is it, Sai?
yes, sir.
It
Yeah.
is. Can you start going through that course, please?
Oh, okay, sir. I will stop.
Okay. The biggest challenge that I'm having is this, okay. Since we are having this sessions every Saturday, connecting the dots becoming very difficult. And I'm very sure you are getting into the same place. Like for example, today when we came in, we started hunting through what we had done because we didn't meet for a couple of days, right? It becomes very difficult to connect dots. I would assume it's the same problem with you too. But I am available to continuously finish this and then tell you that, hey, you guys are done. You're good to move on yourself. Only thing is your availability. I can, even though I'm busy, I can spend some time to make sure that we complete this very quick so that somebody else who wants this opportunity, they can come in and start learning too. Okay. All right. Let me stop recording here.